Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez.
From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. I hope that you are happy, healthy, and safe wherever you are today. I realized I haven't been saying that lately because I can't assume that. I don't even want to wish it because it's so hard to be happy and healthy these days. So do your best is really all I can say. And part of keeping me happy and healthy is bringing my friends in studio. Comedian Joe Kilgallon joins me. He's a comedian and a neighbor and was just telling me that the White House Valentine's greeting was not as cheerful as mine.
No, it was not. Yours was probably a little bit more heartfelt, as this day's supposed to be. They tweeted, "Violets are blue, roses are red, violets are blue. If you come here illegally, we will deport you."
Okay.
Very classy from the White House of the United States, a once proud building, a once beacon of hope and possibility and freedom and what can be.
You
It's
know,
disgusting.
Which Bible verse do you think that's from? Jesus said, "Welcome thy neighbors unless they come here illegally." Unless they don't have the right documentation.
It sounds like Luke, I think. Well, it's from the Trump Bible, I'm sure.
Yes.
The guy who sells Bibles, too. Oh
my
man.
God. There's a great legislator in Texas. I've got to get him on the show sometime. He's also a pastor, and he gives these great sermons about, how this is not. Tony Fitzpatrick was on with Joan a moment ago. Familiar with Tony? He's an artist and has been in the Amazon series, The Patriot, but he's also this really incredible artist. And he was saying this is not who we are, right? And I've heard people say, as Americans, right, this is not who we are. Only a shocking number of Americans are that.
It kind of is, right?
It's a little bit.
It's not who we were, but it's definitely feels like it's what we've become.
But like before, somebody said this earlier this week on my show that we have, or on somebody's show, that we have not been a true democracy that was moving in the direction of the promise of the Constitution until the 1960s when we had the civil rights, right? When and that was, so much sort of hinges on that moment in history. When we have these Dixiecrats becoming Republicans and, after Brown versus the Board of Education, that's where we really get like charter schools and moving towards parochial schools. I don't want my kids going to school. Black kids, you're a little bit younger than me. I grew up just north of here when they started busing kids in from other neighborhoods. It was messy. It was violent. It was really ugly. So I don't know when we were, right? Who we, maybe in the 80s and 90s a little bit, but then not for gay people, not for people who had AIDS, not for so many different groups, LGBTQ, just in the last 10 years, the right to, we're always trying to move towards the promise of the Constitution, and these folks just want to claw us back to what it was like.
I wish I could remember who said it. Someone on this great station. The quote was that the right always needs an enemy.
Yeah.
And right now, transgender people and illegal immigrants are the enemy.
Yeah.
Or which I don't even like using that term because how could a person be illegal and all that kind of stuff? And it used to be something that I remember being taught, this country's so great, people will fight tooth and nail to get here.
Right.
That was a bit of propaganda, sure, but it was something that, there was some truth to that people wanted to be here so badly and contribute. And as you know, people who live in cities, we see the impact of how people from other countries can have a positive effect on your culture and your city.
Yeah.
And I feel like the people who hate immigrants the most never encounter them. And if only they had, maybe they would change their tune. I'm being hopeful, maybe.
I don't know. There are people who just... treat others, regardless of background, like they're disposable, like they're just sort of in their way. We see this in traffic, right? Where it's, I remember years ago, there was a host I used to work with at another radio station who talked about not driving defensively, but just kind of going with the flow. Like I try to just kind of go, okay, that person's and sometimes, believe me, I'm in a hurry. Everyone's in my way. But I wish we could drive as a team. And that's kind of how I wish we acted as Americans. Like we're in this together. We all have something at stake, which is our futures, our kids' future, the safety of our communities, all of that. And to your point, they always have to have somebody to hate. And I hate people who are hateful. That's really who I can't take it. On my Facebook page, I posted this thing yesterday. So there was a story that broke on Wednesday that the State Department was set to buy $400 million worth of armored Tesla vehicles, right? And so, this story is very slippery because, and so I posted it because they also cut funding to cancer research amongst hundreds of other things. U.S. aid, there's all kinds of cuts to different programs that are still struggling to figure out how they're going to help people. So at any rate, I put that that graphic on my page, and will you moron, Biden actually approved that contract. Well, all right, maybe I didn't do enough research. So under the Biden administration, they had set aside a certain amount of money for electric vehicles, EV, maybe armored vehicles, but it wasn't for Tesla. So we're not really sure why all of a sudden the State Department did intend to buy Tesla vehicles. Like no journalist seems to have uncovered that. So the knee-jerk instinct is, but here's what nobody mentions in the hatred, the nasty comments. Nobody says anything about the cancer research. Nobody, they don't deny it. They only go, well, you moron, you idiot, you libtard. That was under Biden. Like nothing about the cancer research. They don't give a crap.
They don't. No. It's whataboutism.
Yeah.
Like I was talking about before when he pardoned Blagojevich a few days ago.
God.
I didn't hear a hiccup from anybody on that side, but they went nuts when he pardoned his own son, which anybody would do. President Biden did what 99% of parents would have done, right? And so, but to pardon Blagojevich, and I'm sure there's a lot of other horrible people he's pardoned left and right, pardoning all the January 6th people who then, half of them are going to end up back in jail because that's what they do. They're criminals.
Did you see one got killed in a tussle with the police department?
In Indiana.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, we'll see more of that.
I think so.
It's not shocking at all. If I could go back to the whole fake religious people thing, we both know a lot of religious people who are great. Right?
Of course.
I'm sure we do. A lot of us as Americans do. But then we also deal with these fake ones, right? And they don't follow anything. Like what we were joking about that. What part of the Bible is the White House tweet today?
Yeah.
And it just reminds me the same thing you were saying. They ignored the cancer part. They pick and choose what they like.
Right.
I remember when everyone was having an equal sign as their Facebook profile to support gay marriage. This one person I knew put a cross and said, I will not support gay marriage because the Bible doesn't support gay marriage. I'm sorry, but it's against my religion. I don't think the Bible ever mentions gay marriage at all. But I said to him, just to kind of mess with him, I'm like, all right, well, the Bible is also against premarital sex.
Yeah.
So are you telling me at the age of 31 you're a virgin, which is fine if you are. Of course, he responded, no. I'm like, oh, so you just pick and choose which parts of the Bible you want to follow. That's what I can't stand. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Why ignore that part, but then go with the part that's hateful towards people?
And impose it on others.
Impose it, exactly.
I had let's call him Tom, because that was his name, McParland. There was a lifeguard that I worked with at the University of Illinois who was in the pro-life group down there, right? There was and this is the 1990s, 1992, 93 was, I believe, and I graduated in 93, so I just remember being on the pool deck getting in this heated argument with him, and he was saying, first of all, I'm not that well versed on the Bible. I grew up I have a very eclectic and complicated religious background. Did we ever talk about this? I was baptized Mormon, confirmed Lutheran, and married in the Catholic Church.
I did not know that. Wow. You should write a book.
Yes, I should. So I am actually writing a book called Prayers and Pills. So no reason, but I was arguing with him, and he had this, but he said, he actually said that sex is only intended for procreation. Like he was that hardcore of a Catholic, right? And I said, what a weird way to tell me you're a virgin, right? Yeah. I mean, that's because you're angry about it.
I know. So
I said, but do you pleasure yourself, essentially, was what I asked him, because that also, you should not spill your seed, is also in the Bible, that you should not do that. And that got very awkward for him very quick. That's the thing about being a Mormon. I will throw that, not that in your face, but not the crusty sock, but I will. I'll tussle, because, I mean, like, to your point, the cherry picking of the Bible is just insane. I have a listener who will call in from Joliet and pose things about the Bible. I'll bring it up only because of the hypocrisy, not because I know it that well. Right. But because I keep throwing it at me, it's just this is ignorant. It really is.
It is. And it's like, why are you, because they all have parts that they ignore.
Yes.
Because they're inconvenient to them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So why do you follow the part that hurts others? That's what I can't understand, because they're just naturally hate-filled anyway.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what religion they'd follow; they'd find a way to hate others because they're not like them, and they don't. They just want. I don't get these people who want everyone to be the same.
I know.
How boring is that?
I know.
It's just not fun.
I agree. Well, they use the Bible to justify their hate because the Bible says this. That's what Christ says, and you're like, do you really know what Christ says? Because it's nothing that you espouse.
Yeah, it gives them cover to be hateful.
It does. And so that's why on any of my Facebook posts, when I'll see something nasty and then go to their pages, and I'll often see, signs of the cross and all that stuff, and I'll generally end the conversation with "Go in grace."
That's awesome. I love that. I love seeing stuff like that.
Yeah.
You ever see it when someone goes off and on like a woman's page, and then you click on the guy's profile, and it's always like, proud father of 3 daughters. And it's like, really?
Yeah.
I hope, that's awful. I feel bad for those 3 young ladies, because if they have you steering their ship, they're in trouble.
So you have 3 kids?
Yes.
And, you have someone turning 8 tomorrow.
Yes.
Very exciting.
Happy birthday, Matthew.
Hey, Matthew, happy birthday. Does Matthew play any sports?
Yes, baseball. He played soccer a little bit, but didn't really like it that much.
Is that us? Is that kind of us as parents? Like, oh God, I don't get this game. A tie, really? What do we do? Griffin would always like end up talking to somebody in the middle of the field, and like the ball would go by and stuff. I was baseball. I played at Norwood. Is he playing over at Norwood?
He's at Oriole.
Oh. All right, then. A little bit of more of a hike. Norwood's closer. I'm just saying.
Well, it's a straight shot down.
That's fair.
We don't need to give away everywhere we live, by the way. I'm just realizing.
Norwood, so I played at Norwood Park for 5 years in the boys' league. And it's funny, I had a guy come up to me at a show at Joe's on Weed Street, and this guy, he made a beeline for me, and his name was Jim, and he goes, I played Little League with you, and he goes, I have been waiting years to apologize to you. He goes, we were so cruel to you. I was the only girl on the team. At one point, I was the only girl in the league. And he goes, we were so cruel to you. And he goes, no matter how mean we were to you, you always showed up. And I was like, okay. I was just like, but he said it was because now he had daughters who he wanted them to, he hoped that they would grow up to be as tough as I was.
Oh, that's nice.
Which was really, and again, though, it's like the idea that like, we shouldn't have to wait for guys to, I mean, look, these were teenagers, right? These were, I can give them a little bit of space because it was the 70s and the 80s, and it was rough. I mean, like, thankfully, I had like Tatum O'Neal. Was it Tatum O'Neal from Bad News Bears?
Yes.
Right? So at least there was something for them to look to, although I was not. I was not good.
She was good.
She was good.
She had a curveball.
Yes. No. I was, no. It was not that. I was half a game, shared right field until I went to high school. I got better by the time I went to Lane. But to your point, it's that I wish that we didn't have to say that I have daughters. And that's why but when you see somebody who is so hardcore, and you're like, I feel sorry. I agree. I feel sorry for them. They're never going to see it.
It's good that your friend that you ran into apologized and all that, but you're right. He shouldn't have to create a woman to respect a woman. You know what I mean?
They used to take their mitts off, and when I would get there, and they go, look, Patty, we throw like you. I'm fine. I'm totally fine, Joe. I'm totally well adjusted, as I think you've known.
You're too far away from me to give you a hug right now, so you're on the other side of the desk.
But I will tell you this before we go to the break. My dad was a great ball player. Right. And my brother, who we lost, loved playing baseball. Like, one of the stories I learned was like he would go and like play in different neighborhoods. But my dad, I couldn't hit, Joe. I couldn't hit. So my dad goes, but I could run and I could slide. Right. So he goes, all right, let me tell you something. This is what we're going to do. Next time you go to the plate, I want you to lean into the pitch and don't move. I got hit. I would get hit like in the elbow. When I cracked a rib, when I got the wind knocked out of me. So my dad goes, all right, this is what we're going to do. He goes, next time you go to bat, swing and let go of the bat. They're never going to throw it in the strike zone again. These are, you overcome your shortcomings.
These are good life lessons, though.
I'm just saying.
We would always tell the bad kid, hey, lean into it.
Yeah.
And we'd yell out, hey, we got ice. Let it hit you. We got ice. You'll be fine.
I never told Griffin to do that. He learned it on his own and started doing that. I was like, please don't. It's not.
Hey, it's Moneyball. On base percentage is the name of the game. You got to get on first base. You can't steal first base. Get on first base, then we can talk about stealing second.
Then you're in the game.
There you go.
You're moving the You're moving the players, is all I'm saying. By the way, Joe, a listener of the show sent me this crocheted dumpster fire. It's my emotional support dumpster fire that will now be the mascot of the show.
Oh, that's lovely.
It's fine. I'm fine. Everything is fine. And that will be the motto going forward for the foreseeable future. Let's take a quick break here. Hang out with Joe Kilgallon. He will be appearing at Tata's on March 13th. What else do you have coming up?
I have next Thursday, local show to plug. I will be at the Sixpenny on Montrose.
Excellent.
Montrose and Menard in the Portage Park, Jefferson Park neighborhood. So any of you Northwest Siders want to come out, that's a 9 p.m. show.
Excellent. Oh, my goodness. It's late for us over here on the Northwest Side.
It is a little late, but it's okay for me, though, because I'm at the House of Blues downtown at 7 o'clock the same day. So
perfect.
Wherever you are, come on out.
Yeah, come on, see Joe. Find his shows on YouTube. You can find his podcast, The Joe Kilgallon Show, as well as Let's Get Dumb, teaching millennials and Gen Z that we used to be able to smoke indoors, was the last clip I saw today. More in a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal.
Hey, Progressives, it's Richard Chu, host of Chu's Views, weekdays from 6 to 8 a.m. here on WCPT. I want to let you know that one of our leading progressive voices, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, will be my guest the first Friday of every month at 7:30 a.m.
In this moment, we are not going to surrender our humanity. And that's really what I believe the extremism in this country would like for us to do.
Mayor Brandon Johnson, the first Friday of every month on Choose Views on WCPT.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk
or Pete.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us for Driving It Home. I'm in studio with comedian Joe Kilgallon. We have some calls lining up right now. We were talking a little bit of baseball and softball off the air, and we actually have a listener who, Mike, is in the Illinois Softball Hall of Fame. He and his team have been playing since they were in high school.
Wow.
So I just never... I can't play without a mitt. I'll be honest with you. I got teeny tiny hands. I jammed my thumb once. I'm like, I'm out. I can't.
See, you know what bothers me? I was playing a game with a bunch of comedians over the summer, 16-inch, and some of the comedians who aren't from Chicago brought gloves. And I was like, you do not wear gloves to play 16-inch softball.
Yeah,
and they all acted like, why are you making such a big deal about it? And I was like, this is my ketchup on a hot dog. You just don't do it, okay?
Yeah. It's true. I'm not allowed. Let's see. A listener was referring to our last conversation, exactly, bullseye, phony, Christo-fascist racists. Yeah, I like that. That's a better Valentine's for them, I think. And we have another, you can't steal for first base, AJ Pierzynski. Hold my beer.
He's right. AJ Pierzynski.
Was that what it was?
Against the Angels.
Yep.
Game 2, I believe, of that ALCS in 2005. You were right, sir. AJ Pierzynski 100% stole first base. He got away with it. He did get away with it.
I always struggled with some of the rules, like infield fly rule, drop third strike. I mean, there were a few things that were just. So I was mentioning as we just came back, I like playing catcher, but I often wasn't able to because I'm a lefty, right? So that's just there's not mitts for it, whatever. But I like it because you can mess with the batter. You're talking to the ump. You're in the game. I mean, I was an outfielder my entire life, so I love playing catcher like that. I could do all day long, man. I loved it.
Would you talk some good trash to get in the hitters' heads?
I used to all the time. I had a co-host at WGN who was. I told her about we did silly stuff when we were kids, right? It was the stupid stuff. It was like, hey, batter. We want a batter, not a broken ladder. We need a pitcher, not a bull. A belly itcher, that kind of stuff. And she goes, oh, you're just a bully.
over that. That's pretty minor.
I know. It was just the stupid stuff. I love sitting on the bench and someone's running from third to home and go, look out for the tree. And it's just like stupid stuff like that.
That's just fun, good old kid hijinks. I didn't know if you were going next level.
What was your next level?
If I could quote the movie Major League, you say to the batter, hey, how's your wife and my kids? That's a great one right there. That'll get in the head.
So my favorite baseball movie is definitely Bull Durham. I think Bull Durham is, and we had my friend Susie and I. She was a far better ball player than I was. She was actually a catcher at Taft. They won City like 3 years in a row, and they went to state like every year. But she and I would do all kinds of hijinks. We would always refer to that, aim for the bull, all kinds of stuff like that. It was a blast.
That's a great movie.
It's probably my top. Well, that's definitely my top 5. I would stop and watch that movie anytime.
You know, a movie I wasn't crazy about when I was a kid, Field of Dreams.
And now
I love it.
Oh my God.
It hits differently after you become a dad, and then it hits even far differently after you lose your father. So I watched it last March. What I'd like to do in late March is I watch all the baseball movies to get myself pumped up for the season.
Same.
It's almost like Christmas season for me, what you watch Christmas movies. So I'll watch Bull Durham, Major League. I like Moneyball, Sandlot. I'm sure I'm missing some good ones there. Bad News Bears. I'll load up on all of those flicks and just get myself pumped up for baseball. But yeah, Field of Dreams never made the cut before because I thought this is ghost baseball players. And then that was when I was in my teens. Now as an adult, it's like I really love that movie. I
loved it the minute it came out. I mean, the moment the music started, I think we saw at the Golf Mill Theater. There used to be theaters there with I think Planet X workout or whatever.
There's an AMC there now, I believe.
Yeah, but not in the building. So it was actually a 3 screener. There were balconies and everything. It was great theater. And my dad. So my dad was huge on baseball. When we saw Field of Dreams, when the ball players come out, not the White Sox, remember the other ball players show up, and at one point Shoeless Joe Jackson says, Ty Cobb wanted to play, but we couldn't stand the prick when he was alive, so we told him to stick it. Yeah. Right, that line. But my dad knew the players on the field without their names on their shirts. Right, he's like, oh, that's Hornsby. He was pointing him out. And so for me, it's always it's so much about my dad. He knew so much of the history of baseball. Just with that movie as an example, the player Doc Graham, Moonlight Graham, my dad knew his stats.
Wow.
Which he is a real player. He played half an inning.
Yeah, he didn't have a stat, really.
He did, right. But he played. My dad knew who he was. And here's the beautiful thing about this. So, do you ever work with Sidney Adeniyi, comedian?
Yes.
Yeah, so Sidney and I were in Iowa. We had a road gig. If you ever hang out with Sidney, ask him about going to Iowa with me. He'll tell you a lot of things. So I see a sign for Field of Dreams shooting location, and I go, Sidney, I gotta go to Dyers, whatever it is, right?
Dyersville, I believe.
Yeah, Dyersville. And so he had never seen the movie. So I honestly, I have a picture. I made him pretend like he was falling off the bleachers. He took a picture of me running to first base and stuff. And so we were talking about the movie. We come back, and Nick DiGilio had a screening of it on the big screen. So I was really nervous sitting in the dark with Sidney because I'm like, what if this is so corny and he hates it? I made it a big deal. And he loved it. And we came back and we were talking about it that night, and a woman called, I'm not kidding you, from Chisholm, Minnesota. She had been a patient as a child of Doc Graham's. And she said everything in the movie about him was true. He always had an extra pair of tickets for kids to go to ball games in town. He would always make sure that kids got their eyeglass prescriptions. Yeah, that movie is so much magic for me. So, yeah.
Yeah, that movie really is incredible. James Earl Jones is phenomenal. That speech he gives is next level. And then, if I could throw this out there, this piece of trivia, Ray Liotta, R.I.P., great actor. He plays Shoeless Joe Jackson. Yeah. Now, Shoeless Joe is a lefty. But Ray Liotta was not. So what they were supposed to do was reverse him. So because he's hitting right, they forgot to do it. And so he's telling this story. I'm quoting Ray Liotta now. He was telling this story on some station, and he said when he saw the premiere, he was mortified because he was like, I'm going to get grilled and everything. But the movie was so great, people just kind of let it go.
Yeah. At that point, I mean, the 1919 White Sox, there weren't people going, hey, wait a minute. He played until, I think in the 50s, he played would bop around with the AAA clubs and stuff like that, hiding and stuff.
Yeah, fake name and stuff.
Yeah, that was kind of accurate at the end of the movie where that was an 8 Men Out.
That was an 8 Men Out.
I'm blending the two, yeah. D.B. Sweeney plays, God, my brain, I can do that, who I've also met, which is surreal. But yeah, 8 Men Out's really good. And John Cusack, I think, does a great job as Bucky Weaver. But yes, and I honestly, I mean, Ray Liotta wasn't anywhere near. I mean, D.B. Sweeney's portrayal of him kind of, because he wasn't bright. He wasn't. No, he was not a very bright guy. He just wanted to play. That's all he wanted to do was play. But I thought he did a magnificent job. I mean, that's what it needed. The magic of it was the whole thing, you know. And James Earl Jones was not J.D. Salinger either, which is what's in the book.
Yeah. Well, it's better that they gave Shoeless Joe Jackson some personality.
Yes.
Because if it's just this weird ghost baseball player that Kevin Costner really can't carry a conversation with, it kind of ruins it a little bit. But the fact that he has a little personality and he talks about the game and how much he loved it in a way where you're like, I'm pumped for some baseball. Let's go.
Plus, if you think about it, it also had elements of what we're going through. Remember, it was the like PTA meeting. They want to ban a book. They actually want to ban James Earl Jones's book. It's a whole thing. And Amy Madigan he's yelling at the woman, and she's like, basically, let's get outside, you Nazi cow. Yeah. It's my favorite line. And I asked my husband if he feels like Kevin Costner, like, could you just sit down? Yeah, he's like, all the time. All the time. All the time. We're hanging out with Joe Kilgallon. See how I brought it back to what's going on now with book banning? And it reminds me, we talked earlier this week about the Supreme Court race in Wisconsin. There's also a school board race that is very contentious, and the conservatives are pouring hundreds of thousands of dollars into a school board race, which actually happened in Chicago, too. They poured millions of dollars into our elected school board.
Well, they know. I'll give them credit for that. I don't want to because it's horrible, but they know that's where the change gets impacted immediately. Yeah. The local levels.
Good times. Let's take a break here. We're hanging out with comedian Joe Kilgallon. He'll be at the Sixpenny next Thursday at 9 o'clock and at Tata's Kitchen and Social on March 13th with an 8 o'clock show, which I'll be hosting that night. So we would love to see you. More in a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal.
You know that you can listen to Chicago's Progressive Talk on WCPT AM 820. Stream us live at WCPT820.com and on the TuneIn Radio app. Or you can ask Alexa, Siri, or Google to play WCPT from TuneIn. But now you have another option. We're simulcasting our programming overnight, 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. on WSBC AM 1240 for a clearer reception in and around the city. Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820. And now overnights on WSBC 1240 AM, where facts matter.
WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk, where facts matter.
Union Strong Chicago continues to lead the way with progressive values and in preserving democracy. Your support of the Minocqua Brewing Company Super PAC efforts in Wisconsin and beyond strengthens the fight against MAGA Republicans. You can now purchase progressive beers like Labor Lager, Love Wins Fruited Sour, and the Resistance IPA in Chicago at Rogers Park Provisions, Diversity Beer, Wine, and Spirits in Lakeview, Park West Liquor, Wine, and Beer in Lincoln Park, Logan Square Liquors, and Tip Top Food and Liquors in Westtown. Visit MinocquaBrewingCompany.com for all their Chicagoland locations. As always, no matter how bad our sports teams are, please drink responsibly.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now at 773-763-9278. Driving it home with Patti Vasquez now on WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. I know we've been talking about other things rather than focusing on what's going on. It's only so much I can do. Like I have to do it in microdosing of national politics and global issues. Joe, I don't know. How do you wake up and start reading this stuff? Or
I'll be better about not waking up and doing that. I just have too much to do in the morning, thankfully. Yeah, it's one of the worst things you could do is check your phone first thing in the morning. It was a habit I had for a long time, but you got to break it.
Yeah.
And then I'll flip on some local news, and then I'll get into what's going on. And it's just, it's a lot. Microdosing it is a smart move.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to talk about Field of Dreams, but hey, you brought it back to the book banning thing. Yes. That was next level radio right there.
Oh God. Yeah. Well, it's all my sensibilities. A listener sent us, I'm going to try to get the audio on this. But so let's take some phone calls first. And let me see if I can pull this up while we talk to our good friend Jim in Chicago.
Jim.
Hey, Jim. Did you hear Did you hear that somebody earlier said that they wanted to put you on the front lines of our defense for this country? They put someone like you in charge of keeping this country safe?
Hey, listen. I got a little experience in that area. Anyway, I was looking at J.D. Vance And he looks like a ventriloquist dummy, like the evil dummy a ventriloquist would have. Peter Keel or Stumpy. He's sitting with they're talking about the Ukraine war, and they're seriously looking around, trying to get a decent read on it. He's going on like he's being, manipulated with strings, which is insane. But anyway, let me real quick about religion. First of all, I got 16 years of Catholic education. Never do anybody ever open a Bible. The only people that had a Bible, my grandmother's had a Bible on the table that nobody even looked at. And the other thing is, when I was about a sophomore in high school, I had a Christian brother. We came in class. He goes, "I know what heaven is. I know what heaven is." And it was about 4 or 5 of us in the class. We go, "Well, what is it? What is it?" He goes, "An eternal orgasm." And he was serious, So I thought about it, Patty. I thought about it through the years, and I'm 75 now. And now I see what the efforts these Homo sapiens go to achieve an orgasm. I see now that there's a possibility of that, But anyway,
I think I know what school you're talking about, Jim, by the way.
What school is that?
I don't know. I went to a Christian Brothers school, so is it on Belmont?
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, it was a Christian brother. No, it was St. Joe's.
Westchester. Okay.
Right.
Home of Isaiah Thomas.
Holy cats.
Right.
Good basketball team.
Sure.
It's not even there anymore. In fact, it's gone. But we never. To us. Your catechism ended about the 4th grade. Once you got confirmation, that ended your catechism. I got kicked out of 4th grade catechism. I raised my hand. I said, "Boy, is it fair to go to hell? Like if Hitler's in hell, and I'm sitting next to Hitler in hell. Is that fair?" And then I goes, "Okay, get out of here. Get out of here, Jim."
Jim, have you ever heard me tell a story about Griffin? Griffin got in trouble he was going to St. Tarcissus for his confirmation. Was it confirmation or catechism?
Yeah.
He went to, because he was in public school. I just wanted him to have a foundation, and he became a scholar of the Bible. Yeah. So the teacher was talking about how suicide, the people who commit suicide go to hell because they've wasted God's gift of life. So Griffin raised his hand and he said, "Did God also gift them with mental illness?" And there were issues with that.
I'm sure there was, yeah.
Well, sure, because, in fact, I went to track with, Joe appreciate this, a priest that his vanity plate was Father IRA. I mean, he was, I got Bobby Sands' when he was on hunger strike. He started the hunger strike at the Maze. We got his literature right from him.
I have a copy of Bobby Sands' literature, too.
Yeah, but anyway, what a tragedy. In fact, Ireland is the 7th in this world, the 7th most thriving democracy, and we've sunk down to about 30. Mm-hmm. So it just goes to show you how insane this place we're living in.
Jim, do you have citizenship in Ireland?
No, you believe it or not, all my cousins. And my brother called me. He said, "Jim, you want?" It was like, I think it was $10,000 or something. He goes, "You want me to pick you up and sing?" And I said, I was living downtown, and I had such a good time. I used to live right. The Roof Page Theater was down. The Shakespeare, the Fine Arts. We had tickets to the Civic Opera House. I mean, I loved Chicago. I think to myself, well, I'm not. I got a great story about Ireland, but. My brother used to go all the time, but they got dual citizenship, but I don't have one. I wish I got one, but I wish I was a wishing well. Anyway,
Public Enemy with Jimmy Cagney with the grapefruit and May Clark's face. Yep, gotcha.
Yeah, he was on today. Here's a quick story about Cagney. Cagney and Ricky Rooney and Fred Astaire are selling war bonds, right? So they go to a hotel and they get paralyzed drunk, and the guy that's behind the counter says, "Well, I got some really good stuff." Well, anyway, Mickey Rooney and Cagney end up in bed naked. So Mickey Rooney's staring at Cagney's behind. He says, "Oh, I wish I was dead." And Cagney turns around and goes, "I'm afraid I won't die." He goes, I wish I could die. And Cagney says, "I'm afraid I won't die."
Yikes.
Anyway.
Wow,
Yeah.
it's late on a Friday, Jim. Because of heading into the weekend with that visual in my mind. Wow, thanks.
Yeah, I love Cagney.
Oh, me
He's
too.
my
One
favorite.
of my favorites. Same. Thanks, Jim.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, have a good weekend. Thank you for taking my call. Thank you.
Have
sir.
a great weekend, Jim.
Take care. Actually, Cagney was investigated for communist activities, which is part of why he made Yankee Doodle Dandy. And I don't know if you've ever seen the movie, but they had to write new music for some of these scenes. And George M. Cohan, who the movie is about, demanded that they not give credit to the musicians or the songwriters, the composers of that music. So after the movie comes out, the day after the movie comes out, Cagney takes out a full-page ad in the papers in L.A. and gives credit to all the people who did not get credit on the film. Like, he was freaking amazing.
Good for him.
Yeah,
that's great.
He was, and he actually left Warner Brothers. I think it was Jack Warner demanded that they all contribute money to this conservative candidate for governor, and Upton Sinclair was also running. So Cagney said sure, but he gave Upton Sinclair the same amount of money or more. I'm not sure, but he was very much a sympathizer for labor issues and did go to meetings to see what was going on because he thought people should get their fair share.
Shouldn't be a crime.
Shouldn't be a crime. There's a great speech when he wins. I think he won a Lifetime Achievement Award, and there's a twinkle in his eye. He was in his 80s, maybe in his 70s, but he was talking about he thanked because he was from this really rough part of New York, right? And he said, I just want to thank the fellas in the neighborhood for giving me that touch of the gutter. Such a
I
great
like
line.
that. Good turn of phrase.
Yeah,
it's poetic.
Yeah, he was fantastic. At any rate, have you ever thought about getting citizenship in Ireland?
I've thought about it. It would be a little tough. My aunt and a lot of my uncles have it, and my dad could have gotten it, but he was like Jim, where he's like, I'm never gonna. Why would go through the trouble? I got to go paperwork and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, all of his brothers and sisters have it. So I believe I qualify, but who knows? Maybe I should look into it now with the way things are going.
When we went to Ireland in 2018, and I found out that it seemed as though they had just found Mexican food, right? Because it's just a long way to go to make Mexican food. And I thought I had this idea to write basically a comedy about a family that goes, maybe an Irish Mexican gal who goes to Ireland to open a Mexican restaurant. I just thought it would be kind of fun that sort of fish out of water element.
I'm surprised there hasn't been a movie about. It's a great story, and there probably is a movie about it. I think they were called the
San Patricios.
Yes, That's such a great story. So Canelo Alvarez, who's a great boxer, great Mexican boxer, was a title holder. He has reddish hair. And I've always thought to myself, how did this guy end up with reddish hair? I got to do some research. So I was Googling some stuff, and I came across an interview with him where he's like, I think I have a great-great-grandfather that was from Ireland. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So a lot of listeners who might not know this, we're getting a little history for you. Mm-hmm. A lot of Irish immigrants at the time of the U.S.-Mexican War, I believe it was 1871, that war?
But I think it was 1840s, I believe.
Oh, 1840s, even earlier. Yeah. That's right.
Before the Civil War.
You're correct. Before the Civil War, a quick path to citizenship back then was, all right, you're here now, fight in our army. So they abandoned, but then when they heard the cause and the reason, they were like, no, and they switched sides to the Mexican side. And so there was a whole Irish brigade fighting for the Mexican side in that war because they sympathized with them because it sounded like what they were going through with the English.
It was, so a couple of things, yes. So check out the album by the Chieftains. It's about the San Patricios. So it has Irish and Mexican music, and it's fantastic. And there was a Tom Berenger movie called One Man's Hero. And so there's a plaza in Mexico City, not far from Cayoacan, where Frida Kahlo's house and Diego Rivera, they were all executed by the American army in Mexico. And so there's an entire wall. There's tributes to the San Patricios who gave their lives on this, because again, they identified one with the tradition, the oppression. They were Catholic. So yeah, it just got the chills, because I've been there a couple times, because I just go and I read the names. You'll see Fitzpatrick and O'Malley's and Murphy's and on the wall, who all gave their lives for the Mexicans.
It's a wonderful story.
Yeah, it's quite wild. Yeah, the Chieftains have and actually I believe Liam Neeson narrates some of the story on that album. Came out in 2010 or so.
See, I'd like to go down there and look at that wall and figure out which one of them hooked up with Canelo Alvarez's great-great-grandmother and see if he was a boxer. Maybe that's where it comes from.
It's really...
There's a lot of great Mexican boxers, though, too. So.
Oh, absolutely. Let me take a break here. We'll come back, I swear, to all the things that are going on in the world. I'm easily distracted by not having to talk about just the onslaught of madness coming out of...
It's Friday.
It's Friday! We're hanging out with Joe Kilgallon. He'll be at Sixpenny next Thursday at 9 p.m. for a wonderful show, comedy show in the neighborhood on the Northwest Side. And on March 13th, he'll be doing Tequila and Shamrocks with me and Jeannie Dugan and Jaime de Leon at Tata's Kitchen and Social 8 o'clock show. More in a moment on WCPT 820, Heartland Signal.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now at 773-763-9278. Driving it home with Patti Vasquez now on WCPT 820.
I want to thank our sponsors, Source Solar, your source for solar in Illinois. Go to source.solar to learn more about the great work that they do. And we're going to talk to Peter and Warren in the weeks to come to find out how they can help you get solar installed on your home, in your home, at your residence. You know what I mean. So we'll be talking to them soon. We're hanging out in studio with comedian Joe Kilgallon. Joe, some folks have been on hold. There's audio I want to see if I can get, but let's get to our phone calls first. Dave is in Hoffman Estates joining the conversation. Hey, Dave, what's on your mind? You're on with me and Joe.
Hey, happy Valentine's Day, Patty, and hey, Joe.
Hey, what's up, Dave?
Mentioning on that Bull Durham, what about the other famous line when he shook off the deuce and he told him that get ready, here comes the deuce, and then he smacks that ball out in the right field. He says, God, something fly that far, somebody should have to buy a ticket for it to ride on.
Kevin Costner was at his, he had so much fun, it seemed.
He was a pure movie star during that run. Yeah. I also like the line, Dave, when he tells the batter, when you speak of me, speak well.
Yeah. Tell me about it. Another good baseball movie I enjoyed is Trouble with the Curve. Clint
Eastwood and Amy Adams.
Yeah, great movie. And that. Anyway, I was going to tell you, Patty, I read a story earlier today. It happened probably a day or so ago, but where the VA officials unveiled new rules banning LGBTQ pride flags and other unofficial banners at department offices and spaces, saying the move will bring consistency to agency messaging. That came from a memo released on Wednesday by the VA Secretary Doug Collins. He said that the flags, except for the American flag, at all VA facilities, exceptions include the display of state flags, military service flags, U.S. agency flags, and the POW/MIA flags. And he's saying this order specifically rescinds past VA directives allowing the display of the LGBTQ pride flag during Pride Month, traditionally observed in June. And just be spiteful and just be opposite of what President Biden they did again. But so you can get others. I also read where two crew members ejected from a U.S. Navy jet before a crash Wednesday off of San Diego coast. They're okay. They got fished out by a fishing vessel, and they transferred it to a nearby Customs and Border Protection vessel. But that's one a week. That's the fourth plane
crashes. I'm glad they're okay too. Back to the whole flag thing, though. I do think it's pretty not hilarious, but it's the idea that by banning those flags, the military will perform better is pretty insulting to the military. I kind of doubt our Marines, as they're going into battle, are thinking, I would be performing so much better if my roommate didn't have a rainbow flag back at the dorm. Like what? Like no one's thinking about that. It's ridiculous.
I will say I do know a service member who was in the process of transitioning, and they're not scared right now. They're committed to doing their job. They're going off for training. They want to get promoted. They're keeping their head down, and they're just again just showing up to do their job. And I was impressed by that because I'm scared for them.
Yeah, but they didn't say anything if the Confederate flag was barred.
Well, it's interesting.
should be.
It's interesting you say that. I don't know if you listened to Stephanie Miller this morning, because she has, who's the host of the Mueller Report? I can't remember. Allison, I think is her name. And she was talking about how you should go into these, what are they called? The VAs. No, where do we perform sometimes? At the Legions, American Legions and things like that, where they have the military, sort of representation. And if they're flying anything other than the American flag, if they're flying the Confederate flag or the Trump flag or anything else, football flag, you should report them. I'm like, I'm not walking into any of those places and let me see what kind of flags you all have around here.
Well, it's okay for the head Secretary of Defense to be wearing a tattoo of that's kind of a white power one or something.
Has he got one of those skull ones? Like it
was some kind of crusade type one or something probably. Like that. But anyway, anywho, let me clear off so you could others than that. One more baseball movie.
Okay.
What about? I think this would have been back in the early '80s. Bang the Drum Slowly.
Oh, sure.
I don't know
That's
that
an
one.
Oldie.
I got to check that one out.
Yeah. Anyway, let me clear off. Others want to talk too.
Thanks,
so you guys
Dave. Have a great weekend.
Thanks,
Dave.
Dave.
Thanks. Have a good one. Be
Take
well.
care. You got to meet Steve. Steve is has returned to school. He's taking classes of poli-sci at Northeastern. Steve, you're on me and Joe Kilgallon. What's on your mind, my friend?
Good afternoon, folks. Happy Valentine's Day to one and all. Yes, couple things. I in my American history class, 1877 to the present, there's a book that was assigned that has kind of like shaken me up and opened my eyes. It's called a book called The Triangle, The Fire That Changed America. Mm-hmm. It's about a fire in 1910 where 147 Russian immigrants perished horribly in a fire because the doors were locked because the owners didn't want them to take unauthorized breaks. It was a horrific catastrophe, and the particular fire led to many reforms, and it actually led to the New Deal. But that's more than this conversation can encapsulate all the different wherefore falls of that. But it's a great book, and if anybody's out there is interested in labor and in workers' rights, check out the book.
Thank you.
It'll shake you. It'll shake you. It'll shake
Triangle.
you.
The Triangle. Yeah. It was 146 workers perished. 123 of them were girls because they often hired young people because of their hands, the size of their hands, to do the kind of work that they needed to. Yep.
Yeah. Also, now that we're in the resistance, I have a suggestion that we need to have an anthem, and I would like to suggest the song "Favorite Son" by Clarence Credo Revival. If you ever listen to the words, and it's an older song, so I'm aging myself. It's a song for today. It'll fit the zeitgeist right now, and maybe a secondary song would be "Living in America" by James Brown. That's a great blue-collar, middle-class anthem also. But
I like it.
I'm going to go with CCR.
I love the song. It's rocky, and it's gut-wrenching, and it's sexy, and there's an undercurrent there. I don't know if there's an old video, and in the song they go, "It ain't me," and that could be the anthem cry for the next 2, 3, 4 years.
Yep.
Anyway,
appreciate it.
I really think it'd be great. Yeah. Real quick, one more great baseball story. An old movie with Ray Milland called "It Happens Every Spring." Classic movie. You can find it. It's quaint and cool, and it's Paul Douglas, the old character actor, as the catcher, and it's a classic. You can check and find it. It Happens Every Spring with Ray Milland. You'd love it.
Excellent.
Thanks, Steve. We're getting some good recs on some baseball movies here.
Yeah, I would also. I'm sure you've seen Pride of the Yankees with Lou Gehrig.
I have.
Oh yes,
yeah, that's a good one. All right, thank you.
You're right.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Bye.
We will take your baseball movie recommendations. Or in somebody texted in League of Their Own. I was thinking about this because I was in college and I wasn't in performing yet, and I'm like, part of me wishes because I wasn't with an agency, so I wouldn't have gotten a call. Hey, does anybody play baseball? It would have been so much fun to just be an extra on A League of Their Own because I was still playing in my 20s. Yeah, I'm fine.
They shot a good part of that at Wrigley Field, the tryout scenes, and in the movie A League of Their Own, that's called Harvey Field because they couldn't get the rights to the Wrigley family.
Right, Harvey candy bars.
Harvey candy bar,
that's
like
right.
Wrigley gum, that whole thing. And in the movie, they show the first 4 teams, but at one point that league expanded to almost 12 teams. Chicago did have a team. They were called the Chicago Colleens.
Oh,
and
that's
they wore like
fantastic.
green skirt thing.
Yeah.
It was like a whole Irish thing they had going on with that. Another Chicago connection to that movie. So a lot of Chicagoans will know that Wrigley Field was the last stadium to add lights. The Cubs were the last team to get night games by 40 years. The Cubs added lights in 1988. The Detroit Tigers were second to last in 1948, so way behind the times. But fun fact is this. The first ever night game at Wrigley Field was the All-American Girls Baseball League's All-Star Game in 1945.
Oh, really?
Yes.
There
They
you
brought
go.
in temporary lights they put on Sheffield and Waveland Avenue, and so women were the first night game.
That's amazing. I love that. I was working at, these laser tag places. So
Yeah, they're great.
There used to be a laser tag at 6137 Northwest Highway. I say that because I lived 2 doors down. I was assistant manager at the laser tag, and so on July 8th, 1988, we had the game on, like, because I was like working and trying to watch, and I'll never forget that rain out. I mean, it was like basically
August
a slip
8th.
and slide. It was 8, right?
Yeah, because
August
8/88.
Duh.
Yeah.
8/88, right. I just remember them like slipping and which reminded me of Bull Durham. Wait, we got a natural disaster.
Yeah.
Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and sometimes it rains.
I got to get that tattooed.
I love that. And it's, have you ever been at a game at Wrigley where they delay the game for rain?
Yes.
I was at a game that they delayed for rain that never came, and so they canceled the game.
I've had that. Sometimes you get lucky and you get to go to a better game because of it.
Sure. It's fine. We were there for hours. I was on the air one time, and we're going to take a break here, but I was at WGN, and we were waiting for them to give us back the station. We were waiting for the rain delay. They were just, shooting the breeze in the broadcast booth. They gave me the station at 10 to 2 and never played the rest of the game. 10-minute show. More after this with Joe Kilgallon, and of course, you guys with your calls. More in a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. We'll be right back after this and take your calls.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez.
From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. Want to thank our sponsor of the show, Source Solar. Go to source.solar. And find out about all the great work that they do. That's source.solar. There's not a .com. It's just source.solar. And you can set up an appointment to talk to Peter or Warren or one of their great crew and find out if your house is right to get set up with solar energy. Want to say hello to our friends listening on KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota. We're broadcasting here out of Chicago on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. Always want to remind you, if you're not getting the signal as strongly as you usually do once the sun goes down, make sure you download the TuneIn app, or you can listen to us online at heartlandsignal.com. And all of our shows are podcasts. Some of them are also individual podcast interviews, like Fix the Courts is available for your listening pleasure, as well as many others. Joining me in studio is comedian Joe Kilgallon. He'll be at Sixpenny next Thursday at 9 o'clock over here on the northwest side. That's over on Lawrence near Austin.
It's Montrose in between Austin and Central.
July 8th, 1988.
Yeah. It's Friday. It's okay. 5800 West Montrose.
It's
I believe.
Montrose.
Wonderful pint of Guinness. Cash only bar. Great people there.
It's a great bar.
I love that bar.
I love that bar. So Sixpenny on Montrose, and it's a 9 o'clock show featuring. Is it like an open mic? Is it?
No, it's a booked showcase.
Excellent.
Local comedian Greg Bartusiak produces it. Great Polish lad. Some of Chicago's best will be on it. This is like the third show they've done there.
Oh, nice.
And the other two were packed, so I imagine more of the same.
Excellent. And we will be appearing together at Tata's Kitchen and Social on Irving Park Road near Central. And that will be on March 13th. It's Tequila and Shamrocks featuring Jeannie Dugan, Joe Kilgallon, Jaime de Leon, and I will be hosting. Let's get to some of our calls. Joe, some of these folks have been on hold for a bit since our last hour. Victor is calling from Salem, Oregon. How are you doing, my friend?
Hey, Miss Patti Vasquez, I want to mention 2 movies, baseball movies that I really adore.
Uh-huh.
And one of them is A League of Their Own, and the other one is Sandlot.
Oh,
great.
2 great movies. And remember, there's no crying in baseball.
That's right.
Not. But when the Cubs finally won a World Series, Victor, I shed a lot of tears for that one.
I cried a lot when I played
Yeah,
baseball.
exactly.
I cried
Such a long drought.
Yeah, after 108 years, you're allowed to cry. But other than that, I think Tom Hanks is right.
You got to kiss home plate after that.
Yeah, no kidding.
I would have loved to have done that.
Where were you
when the Cubs won the World Series? That's a good question, Patty. I was in New York City, believe it or not.
Oh, golly.
I was decked out in Cub stuff, and I watched in Brooklyn, and then I took the train to this bar in Manhattan called Kelly's. That was a Cubs bar. And because I was meeting some Chicago comedian friends of mine who'd been living in New York. And when I walked in, I'm all decked out in Cub stuff. The bouncer's this big guy from Ireland. And he was like, "Are you only just getting here now?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Get in there." And he didn't even card me.
Aww.
And it was like the end of the world because everybody, strangers were greeting each other with hugs and kisses.
Aww.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It was amazing.
That baseball will do that. It is our favorite sport, no matter what they say about the NFL.
Yeah. Oh, 1,000%.
I agree with
like
you,
that.
Victor.
You two, you two have great chemistry and are a wealth of knowledge and information. I really can't express how much I enjoy your show. And I'm sure everybody else in Chicago and the greater area also share my feelings.
Oh, thank you so
I'm
much.
walking outside.
No worries.
I just want to... Huh?
No worries. We love hearing you. Go ahead.
Okay. I just want to expand a little bit about J.D. Vance's speech in Germany. Here he is trying to school the great democracy in the European Union about democracy, while Donald the Stump and Felon Muskrat are destroying our democracy here at home. It's just insane. You can tell that J.D. Vance was we might as well call him V.D. Vance, the way he spreads that propaganda.
Wow.
I like that. I like that one a lot. Nice, Victor.
It's contagious.
Yeah, he is. He's a disease.
Yeah,
he is.
it doesn't go
You're
away.
Right. He is a
Not much-
disease, that guy. He looks like the type of guy who would walk through you for a shortcut, right?
Absolutely.
does.
Yes.
Just as a rat.
I would just like to add that, everything that he said that he wanted the European Union to do was like go take after what the England did with Brexit, and he wanted to everyone to get out of NATO. It's straight from the playbook of the Russian Party. He is definitely, like Donald Trump, in bed with Vladimir Putin. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
Why they hate America so much. Can you give me an answer?
I don't know. Like, that's been the real puzzle too. Why anyone would do that? I do believe in. I'm not a conspiracy theory guy at all, so I don't even know if it is a conspiracy theory. But the idea that Trump couldn't get loans from any other banks, because the thing that Trump is he's just a marketer, and you got to give him credit. He's a good marketer too, because he knows put my name on everything, take credit for everything. If something's bad, it's not my fault. It's the other. Always blame. Never. His whole brand is, I win. I'm a winner. I didn't really lose to Biden. They stole it. So he was failing in a lot of ways with his businesses in New York, because you talk to anyone in the world of New York finance, they tell you, he's a fake rich guy. He's not nearly as rich. They don't even think he's an actual billionaire. And the fact is that the Russian banks then were loaning to him, and that's how he got in bed with them. Now, this is just a theory, everybody. I don't want anyone quoting me on that, but it's just a theory.
No, it's not Joe, it's not a theory. That's actually a fact. He received money when he was in the White House in the last term. He received money from China, thousands of dollars, and from other countries, and did not really, give it. Did not disclose that fact.
Well, yeah, Victor, I think my
out
theory
later.
was, I was saying it's a theory as to why he loves Putin so much. He might just like Putin because he thinks he's attractive. I think Trump thinks Putin's a cute guy.
Well, he loves dictators. He said that before.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
Right? With a dictator of North Korea, he was like, your people really love you. I wish they would. I wish Americans love me as much as they, your people love you, kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, their whole thing, guys like, the people who are running the show now, sadly, is they love America because, this is what we could use and manipulate it for. They don't have any real love of country. They don't go, the Grand Canyon and, it's the people here and it's the land and, I love our founding and what the promise of what America could be. Because, a lot of us, I think the reason I was such a big fan of this country growing up was that I'm like, I like that we took a little bit from all over the world and blended it together. I thought the melting pot was our strength, and these guys don't believe that at all.
No.
It is our strength. I agree.
Donald Trump and the Republicans, they don't love the country, of course. They love money.
Yes,
and
that's their god.
The whole problem right there. We know that Donald Trump, you say, is good with manipulating the press. But let's face it, Donald Trump was convicted of $450 million of fraud in New York, and he's a convicted felon with 34 felonies. So you might think he's good, but he really is a crook and a criminal. And that's what we have to deal with for the next 4 years. So hang on to your pants or hat, whatever. You know the old saying, first your clothes, then your money. Or what? I don't know. Something like that.
I've walked off that pier a few times myself. I had an idea of going.
But you're right, Victor. He's the felon in chief.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He was out on bail when he was running for office. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend, my friend.
Yeah, too. Happy Valentine's again, and keep up the great comedy and the great show. I hope to see you guys soon at some club near me. Ciao for now.
Ciao for now, my friend. I'm working on it. I got an idea. I'm trying to figure out what I would name that tour. Me, you, and Dwayne. That would be a fun tour, too.
Yeah, we'll come up with something.
Yeah. I don't want it to be too Chicago. Should be like too cutesy. No. I don't want to be like deep dish, like Windy City, like Lakeside, Lake Effect.
We are comedians who live in Chicago.
Yes.
So yes, technically we're Chicago comedians, but we perform all over the country.
That's right.
We're American comedians, or we're global comedians. I think we could perform all over the world and get our laughs. Yeah, we just happen to live here.
Yeah, I don't know. It's something about being reasonably funny isn't really a big draw.
No.
We're somewhat funny.
We're pretty good. It's a good deal.
I bet that we're reasonable and we're funny. Yeah, that's not going to work.
We'll come up with a good name for it.
I'm not good on the branding thing.
The Sexy Liberal Tour. We'll call it wait.
Wait a minute.
That was Stephanie Miller took that one.
America. We are getting some texts about baseball movies. I knew, and here's the thing.
See, I'm glad I brought it up.
I know. I am too. I kind of want to wait and see if anybody else puts these out there because I don't want to take it away from anyone in case someone on hold wanted to mention these movies. So let's take a break and take the rest of our calls when we come back. And if you want to let us know your favorite baseball movies, because even though it's February and Joe mentioned he usually watches his baseball movies starting in March, pitchers and catchers report pretty soon is all I'm saying.
They already have.
That's right. So there you go. I thought that. Oh, really?
Yes, pitchers and catchers have reported.
I'm just saying. So there you go. So it's time. Let's go. Just saying. Put me in, coach. More in a moment. On WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. We're hanging out with comedian Joe Kilgallon.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 North Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk
or Pete.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now at at 773-763-9278. Driving it home with Patti Vasquez. Now on WCPT 820.
Hey, everybody. We're broadcasting live from Chicago on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, and want to say hi to our friends listening on KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Comedian Joe Kilgallon joins me in studio. He'll be at Sixpenny coming up next Thursday, and that's a 9 o'clock show over there on Montrose. You'll also be performing in Arizona coming up soon.
That's right, March 7th and March 8th. That's a Friday, Saturday at Mike Drop Comedy Club in Chandler, Arizona, which is only about 10 minutes from where the Cubs play at Sloan Park in Mesa. There's a lot of spring training action over there. A's, I believe the Twins, shout out Minnesota. I love the Twin Cities. I always have a good time when I do shows up there. So if you're, in Arizona for spring training that weekend, March 7th, March 8th, come out to Mike Drop Comedy Club in Chandler, Arizona. I'll be headlining. I love that. Yeah, come on out, folks. And I know I was telling Joe that people listen all over the country. If you are listening someplace that I haven't mentioned, we have our friend up in Oregon. We've got our friends in California. We've got Detroit. Tell us where you're listening from, 773-763-9278. Some folks have been texting in their favorite baseball movies, and I don't want to read them out just yet because I think that some of our listeners are going to maybe mention one. Let's see who's been on hold the longest. It would be Roosevelt. Hey, Roosevelt, thank you for your patience and hanging in there. What's on your mind, my friend?
Thank you for taking my call. Before I get on my roll here, have a nice weekend, folks, and happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
You too.
Okay, I want to bring some baseball movies that are kind of cultish.
Okay.
Cultish.
I like it.
When I was a kid, I saw a movie. As kids are, we thought it was funny. Thought it was great, and it was called The Bingo Long Traveling All-Stars and Motor King.
James Earl Jones, and was Richard Pryor in that one?
I believe so.
Richard Pryor.
Yes.
And, so James Earl Jones, Williams, what's his name?
Billy D.
Billy D. Williams. So that's one that came to mind. But one that's really dark, and I don't know if anybody, I'm trying to name movies that nobody would think of, but I'm pretty sure somebody out there knows this one. The Fan.
Yeah, that's what I
said.
Isn't that with De Niro? Is that
Roosevelt, when you said pretty dark, it's Wesley Snipes and De Niro.
Yes.
And when you said dark, I'm like, I bet he's going to say The Fan. That's a really dark one. Yeah, De Niro is very sinister in it, and it's got a very it gives you goosebumps. It's a creepy movie. Good flick.
And guys, doesn't he do a great job when it comes down to that type of movie? Remember that remake of that movie? Oh, I can't think of the movie. Where he terrorizes this family. It's a man, it's the husband, the wife, and the daughter. And the daughter is now a big famous actress.
This is Juliette Lewis.
Oh my God, that is weird. That is dark.
I know which one you're talking about because he's mad at Nick Nolte. That's the dad in that movie. Cape Fear.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Cape
God.
Fear.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And he was like, because he was jacked, too. Wasn't he, like, working out and everything?
He got pretty ripped for that one.
Well, guys, I'm trying to link all these up, but Taxi Driver is also that type of movie. He does such a good job when it comes down to a villain, a really demented. There was another one where he played a doctor, wasn't it? Where he terrorizes this couple, and he plays a doctor. They're trying to get pregnant, if I remember correctly. I don't remember the name of the movie, but he's weird. Oh, my God.
Well, De Niro's one of those guys, too, that I feel like he had a stretch where he was like, all right, I got to start going a different route a little bit here.
Yeah.
Because it was a lot of, he was doing a lot of mafia movies, which he's amazing in, of course. And then, he had that run with, like you're saying, like The Fan and Cape Fear. They were all kind of in that decade where he was like, and now I'll give him credit even more. Mm-hmm. His last decade and a half, he started to go into some comedies. He's really good at Meet the Parents and a few other movies where he's showing Bad Grandpa.
Analyze This with Billy Crystal was one of those first big ones.
I always thought Analyze This was part of the inspiration for The Sopranos.
Interesting.
Because think about The Sopranos. The Sopranos, people always talk about what an original TV show was. And as a TV show, yes. But as a movie, I'm like, all right, well, let's analyze this. Because it's a mafia boss seeing a therapist. And in The Sopranos, Tony Soprano sees a therapist. So I always thought, I'm like, I bet they got a little bit of inspiration from
That's a good point.
that Robert De Niro, Billy Crystal comedy.
Yeah. That's a good point.
I would have to talk to, what was it, David Chase? I'd have to ask him what he thinks.
That guy changed television, man.
Well, yeah, it was great to take the idea of that movie and make it like a serial, make it episodic.
Yep.
So smart.
Excellent.
Now, I want to jump to the other subject you touched earlier, Patty, when it came down to Mexico. A lot of people don't know this, but the most time I spent in Mexico when I was a kid, between the ages of 6 and 11 or 12. Actually, I was 11. And I remember going to the theater and watching movies. And there was a famous Latvian actor. His name was Wolf Rurinskis. The guy was tall, like 5'11", almost 6 feet. And he was originally a wrestler. But this guy was, all the women go crazy over him because he had wavy hair, very tall, and famous at the time, and so there's a lot of people don't know this, but there's a lot of influence from Europe. And I was telling Lady B that our current president of Mexico, she's Jewish, and believe it or not, Mexico was the first one to open the doors for Jewish people that were fleeing Europe during the Nazi era. So that's where. That kind of
community.
There's a lot of.
That's great.
There's like right now, and through the years, the past 20 years, there's an Italian singer. They learned the language, and they're great singers. Her name is Laura Pausini, Italian. So you have that. You have Spaniards, that sing. They come to Mexico and they sing with mariachi. The typical Mexican music. Typical of Mexico. So you have the Spanish influence. And then you have, like, of course, Cinco de Mayo, which is Mexico battled with the French. So you have French influences.
Yep.
You mentioned Irish, also Irish.
Yep.
And then Emperor Maximilian from Germany, he tried to take over. And whenever you guys buy pan dulce, which is sweetbread from Mexico, that powdered stuff that's pink and different colors, chocolate.
Sure.
That comes from the French.
Oh,
the
wow.
A lot of influences.
You got the smartest listeners, Patty. Every time I do this show, the callers educate me.
There you go.
And I got to thank you, Roosevelt, because you just educated me a bunch, too. I hope you have a great weekend and a great Valentine's Day, my man.
Thank you so much, Roosevelt. I got to run because I got other callers on hold, and I just lost Steve from Homewood. Thank you, Roosevelt. Let me get to Bobby in Indiana. Bobby, how are you doing, my friend?
Oh, Patty, you little Valentine, you. Let's see, baseball on Stillum. How about Elmer the Great? You got that one on your list?
I don't have that one on my list. Do you, Patty?
I do not.
Elmer the Great.
Warner Brothers, Joe E. Brown, 1933.
Wow.
It's a little something for both of us. He's a hick from Gentryville, Indiana, in the winter of 1932, and he is in the minor leagues, and he just got his contract bought by the Chicago Cubs.
Oh, boy, we better check this one out.
I got to check that out as being a massive Cubs fan.
He's going to come to Chicago to play in the World Series of 1933. Check it out.
Thank you.
It's a great historical piece.
Love that. And a very young Jane Wyman is in that movie, by the way. Had to be one of her early movies. And I love Frank McHugh, who's also in that. He was often in Jimmy Cagney movies. Thank you so much, Bobby.
One other one that's, and I think of the other guy that's in that movie that's famous as a character actor.
Preston Foster? Sterling Holloway.
Sterling Holloway and I know Nash is his last name.
Mm-hmm. We will check. We'll check it out.
Check it out.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Bobby. Have a great weekend. Happy Valentine's.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. We have a guest coming up in just a moment. I do want to make sure I get to our texters. The movie that we have not that I knew I wanted to mention in the last hour. We lost Katie and Steve. I don't know if they were calling about movies, but
sorry, Katie and Steve.
Yeah, but I will tell you, I also love The Natural. Is just, I mean, like, it's such a, it's not as hokey in some ways when you sit down and watch Field of Dreams, right? Like this voice in the field and stuff, but there's like this mysticism about it, you know?
The beautiful score.
Oh my God.
It's so good. And Robert Redford, I mean.
Oh my God. It's just.
Robert Duvall as well.
Brinkley. What's the
Wilford Brinkley.
Brimley.
Sorry, Brimley.
I put you on the wrong path. Wilford Brimley, and the other. I think the bass coach who became kind of famous late in life too. Do you know
I know what you're talking about. Older guy. Wasn't he also in Anne of Green Gables?
Yeah, he was like, and there was like a movie called Gray Fox, and he was nominated for an Academy Award. He was great. Barbara Hershey, Glenn Close.
A lot of great American actors in that one.
Oh my
Redford
God.
and Duvall are always on the top of the list for greatest American actors.
I forgot Kim Basinger's in that too.
That's right. Very young Kim Basinger.
Richard Farnsworth was in that. Wilford Brimley, Richard Farnsworth, the other older coach. I love The Natural too. So thank you folks who were calling in to say The Natural. We're going to take a break here. When we come back, we're going to talk to an author. I'm a little bit, like dystopian futures make me a little bit nervous. Are you a big dystopian future fiction lover? I get nervous about like the movie Her. This is kind of what I don't know if this author is going in that direction, but we're going to talk to Liza Monroy about her book, The Distractions, a tale of how technology enables obsession, envy, and unrelenting comparison.
I did just see the movie Companion and highly recommend it, and that's kind of futuristic in a sense.
Yeah, I got enough time. I got enough trouble with the present.
Yeah, the present's frightening as it is.
It's troubling.
Yeah.
It's maybe I need to look forward. Maybe if I just look what could be. It's also terrifying. So I'll just stay here and be terrified. More when we come back. We'll talk to author Liza Monroy. When we come back, we're in studio with comedian Joe Kilgallon. He'll be at the Sixpenny coming up on what day is that? The next
Thursday, February 20th.
20th at the Sixpenny on Montrose. More after this on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal and KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Hi, this is Patti Vasquez. We appreciate all our fans of Driving It Home, and your support of show sponsor Minocqua Brewing Company ensures that our important conversations continue right here on WCPT each weekday from 5 to 7 p.m. You can now find the Resistance IPA, Labor Lager, or the Resistance Pilsner beer at several Illinois locations, including Arminetti Wine and Spirits in Woodstock, Pineapple and Company in North Riverside, Lions Beverage Depot in Arlington Heights, and MP's Liquor, Wine, and Beer in North Aurora. For a full list of Chicagoland locations, please visit MinocquaBrewingCompany.com. As always, please vote and drink responsibly.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
In your communities, in Chicago.
On WCPT 820.
Thank you for joining us as we continue to drive it home. Joining me in the studio is comedian Joe Kilgallon. He'll be in Arizona March 6th and 7th.
7th and 8th.
I've heard both ways.
Yeah.
I'm never going to get these numbers right.
Sorry,
August, July, March 7th and 8th.
Yes, at the Mic Drop Comedy Club. You just go to joekilgallon.com. I got the ticket links there.
Excellent.
And, my YouTube channel's got all my stand-up comedy. Can I say hi to Lady B? I haven't said hi to Lady B all the show. I'm so sorry.
Happy Valentine's Day, Lady B. Oh, she's giving us no. Hi, Lady B. Oh, she's busy.
She's working hard. That's fine.
She's working very hard. And working very hard is author Liza Monroy, who has a book out that you should check out. It is it's a little terrifying. It's The Distractions, a tale of how technology enables obsession, envy, and unrelenting comparison. We're kind of living that. How are you doing today, Liza? You're on with me and Joe Kilgallon.
Hi, Patti. Hi, Joe. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here today.
Thank you. Hello. First, let me ask you this. Where'd you grow up?
Well, I'm the daughter of a Foreign Service officer mom, so I was born in Seattle, but because of her career, we moved abroad a lot. So I grew up between Mexico and Italy and the U.S. We were in D.C. for a couple of years, and I came back. to the States at 17 to go to college. So then I was in Boston, LA, New York City, and now I'm in Santa Cruz, California. So I'm a little bit of a nomad, grew up as an expat. And now here in Santa Cruz, a little surf town.
Holy
That's
cats.
awesome.
That's a lot. Were you always a writer? Did you always have notebooks and journals and diaries?
I did as a child because of my mom's job. I'd oftentimes be taken out of school to go on some kind of traveling that she had to do either for work, or she would take me out of school to go somewhere. And so my take-home work was always like a travel journal. So as a kid, I would go around and observe and take notes and come up with little stories and things for my travel journal. So that's how I started writing.
Now, how long were you living in Mexico, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, I was there for 2 years when I was 6 to 8 years old in elementary school, and then I was in Mexico City for high school, which was the basis of my first novel, about going to a high school in Mexico City and how Mexico City was just so different than I think what kind of like perceptions were typical in the United States about what Mexico would be like.
I agree. My mom is from Mexico, and when I was a teenager, I did not like going to visit. And then a few years ago, I went back, and I absolutely fell in love with the city, the people, the food, the culture, the parks, everything about it, the architecture.
Yes.
And so what a dynamic, sort of life you've had that must feed so much of the stories that you want to tell. I'm curious, where did the genesis of the distractions come from? What was the kind of kernel of inspiration for this?
Thank you for that great question. And I find it very wonderful that we're speaking on Valentine's Day, because at its heart, The Distractions is a love story. And it's a story about unrequited love. And that is sort of where the seed and the kernel of this came from. It actually was born out of a ghosting. So it was a very, it's a common experience to be ghosted, when one is dating and looking for love, looking for partnership. And it happened to me, not unique, not alone. But I was ghosted, it was probably over a decade ago when I first got the idea for this book. The person just fell out of touch, and I became obsessed with finding the answers and piecing together a story of what had happened to this person. And it really got me thinking about how before the internet and before social media, right, if someone decided, right, I'm going to vanish from your life without a trace for whatever reason, maybe you would never know why. Maybe you'd never be able to get an answer. But I noticed being able to access many things about the person's continuing life on, somewhere like Facebook at the time, the grandparent of social media. I could follow the story and piece together, oh, this is what happened, right? There was this other person, and, I was never the main starring role in this person's life. It was this other person, and there was a whole other narrative. And instead of being able to let it go and say, okay, I found out the story, now I understand, I've got to move on, I just got obsessed with following the life of this person who was not in my life anymore and probably didn't even remember me. And I thought, that in itself is like, it's probably more common than we think, right? And now we can kind of almost view other people on social media as if it's like our own reality show. And I talked to friends about it, and I found out, people have obsessions, right? Maybe it's an influencer, maybe it's like a friend's cousin who has a glamorous career, or, right, someone that's a vague connection that they can see on a social media platform and just kind of follow almost like they're a character in a story. And what do you see, and how real is what you see, and what's off screen, right? What do you not see? So I thought about kind of the ways nothing can be left behind, and sort of how love or aspiration or these feelings can continue probably much longer than in previous eras when it would have been more akin to like, oh, they stopped talking to me, or they didn't call me anymore, and now I don't know what happened, right? There's these ways technology allows us to put together a narrative. And so that gave me the idea for what ultimately became The Distractions over the course of the next decade of writing it.
Well, Liza, that's incredibly relatable these days. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
And when you think about what life used to be like, I really, maybe we're still too new or too early in the internet. The internet's been around for, 30 years now, close to it, as far as connecting with each other. AOL was 1996 or something. I I really don't believe it's had been net positive on our lives. Because I'll give you an example as myself as a stand-up comedian. Stand-up comedy is my main thing that I do. I had sold out a show at Zany's Comedy Club in Chicago, which is like the longest running comedy club in this city. Every young Chicago comedian dreams of headlining. I got to do it. I sold it out. I was so excited. I'm driving back home, feeling amazing, like $1 million, just this high. I hear on the radio that another comedian had sold out multiple shows at the Chicago Theater. And instantly, I was in a bad mood because I'm like, how did that person, it was Matt Rife, how did he get to do this? And I barely sold out that show. Like it was touch and go if I was going to sell enough tickets. And it ruined my whole experience. Like it really is comparisons to Thief of Joy. I was.
Yes,
Liza, I was so proud.
You were riding high on it, and then it was like, oh, but look, this person did it better. They did it more, and they did it better. And that envy and comparison, kind of what you're talking about, is another huge effect of being able to see all these things.
Oh, my God.
And that was true for me, too. As a writer, you're always like, oh, why did that person got this fellowship or that literary award or this prize, or that person's a best-selling New York Times #1 bestseller now. Like, how did that happen? And what, am I not good enough, right? or like Joe said, right? Like, you had a great accomplishment, right? Like,
and then instantly it was gone.
Being able to pursue your dreams, right? And it's like, oh, but it wasn't the best.
I'll tell you something. I miss the 90s so hard right now. I'm 53, so I was kind of just old enough to kind of understand when we started getting. I remember getting my first email account, like trying to understand how to send somebody an email, right? Like really, when I was in college, that's when we started emailing each other, and so I mean, when someone was done with you, like maybe you ran into them on campus or like around town or whatever, but you never knew. You didn't need to know what happened. I mean, like I hate that I've looked back at my ex-boyfriends to see what they're doing. Didn't need to know that he's the head of the oncology department at NYU. Didn't need to know that. But
did he get ugly? Did he get ugly at least?
Oh,
No, but he didn't get. I'm guessing he never got kinder. But I will say this: what an incredible story. So this character, because this also goes into AI. It's not even just like the social media aspect of this, because AI, artificial intelligence, is here whether we like it or not, and the different ways in which it weaves its way into our lives is extraordinary. So tell us a little bit about the main character, and how artificial intelligence plays such a big role in the psychology of loneliness and love and all those elements.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really funny because I started this novel in 2012. That was the first seed with the ghosting, was spring of 2012. And I wasn't thinking about artificial intelligence or AI or the future or anything much at all. I was thinking about that unrequited love story and the story of obsession and envy. And then I was so frustrated by the whole screen element of it, of just the scrolling that I'd been doing and the constant looking, right, being tethered to the screens and, having a phone and walking into lampposts and things like that I was like, I just want to write about a world with no screens in it. And that's how it took that flip into like futuristic. And suddenly I wasn't in our world anymore. I was in some future world. I was like, what could replace screens? And the first thought that I had was like, little tiny, like honeybee-sized drones that are intelligent, powered by AI, that are so smart that pretty much they fly around next to everyone's head and you can talk with it. You don't have to look at anything. And people have them. So it's kind of like the way in the past when we saw someone with earbuds, when that was coming out, we'd be like, is that person talking to themselves? But they were just on the phone. Yeah, Bluetooth, exactly. So it's kind of like as common. Now we see someone talking like that and we know they're on the phone. So everyone has these. They're called islets. And they're so smart that you can tell it, right? Like, order me a latte from the closest coffee shop. And it's like, okay, I got you a latte from, the cafe on 14th Street, or right, like it's ready in 2 minutes. Like, so anything, like I need a ride. I need, where can I get like this kind of food, right? It's just your little constant companion. Like, look up Nick's reel for me and what's he doing right now, and it can project anything. It can tell you things. So in a way, every surface can become a screen, but nobody's got like a device that they have to hold onto or look at. It's all like suddenly the ability to look up again, like see the world, and kind of have these little assistants that help you and are there with you and can be like a friend. It's a bit like Sam in the movie that you mentioned on the way into this conversation. On Her. Yeah, I just read a recent article about has Her aged well. That was interesting. So that kind of an idea, but in Her, he has to put the device in his pocket, or it's still a device. Like, these are just always with us and flying around. So Misha, the main character, is an AI developer, and her job is to develop the AIs that are smart enough and good enough at replacing humans in fields that are becoming automated. And in some cases, it's helpful. Her first success that she has is she comes up with an AI that can replace what are called content clearers. So those are the people who go on the social media and take off hurtful content, like harmful content, something that would be.
Yeah, I need that every day.
These are based on real, they're real people. I'd read an article about this in my research about the people in the Philippines who do this job for very little money and the way it traumatizes them to have to clear off horrible things off social media. So in the book, Misha is making an AI that can spot those moments that should come off and remove them. And then her next job that she's about to start when the novel begins is as a productivity coach called a pro watcher. So these are people that are basically there watching while people work, so that if they get distracted and start looking at random things on a future version of the internet and it's harming their productivity, they will tell them, like, hey, get back to work. Like, I see you reading about, like, the list of 10 celebrities who destroyed themselves with plastic surgery. Can you stop looking at that and get back to work? Or, like, they'll be, like, goal helpers, right? Their productivity, basically police. So she's doing that job in order to figure out how to build the AI that will eliminate people needing to do that job. So that's her role in the whole AI world.
See, that's AI done right, though. I like that.
Yeah, it's positive. I think overall the book is kind of like a lot of the elements of the world are dystopian, like climate change and some technology run away with itself. But I went for definitely a funny, humorous sort of take on things, just because I think that's how I see the world. And Misha's secret is, it's not a spoiler, she had previously developed an AI that kind of grew to become capable of love, or at least it thinks it can love. And so this was seen as dangerous because, well, if it thinks it can love, like, does it also have all the flip sides, like obsession and stalking and, right, all the kind of downsides of what love can bring.
Well, especially
so that has been put away.
AI can have access to too many different things, then elements that make all of that exponentially more dangerous.
I was telling Patty about the movie Companion that I saw recently, and so there's some elements to love with that. And so, yeah, that's great. It's great. I love the idea of this book. I love, because right now what's frustrating to so many people is AI is not being used to eliminate jobs that people shouldn't do, like mining hateful content on the internet. AI is being used to do 8th graders' history papers and to do, like, art, which really isn't all that artistic. And so, yeah, you're taking a great approach here, Liza. I'm excited to read this.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, let me know what you think when you do.
I love it. I love the concept. I love your work, and I know that you're already working on something else. And I love that you are so connected to your material and to your audience. I want folks to visit LizaMonroy.com. That's LizaMonroy.com. So you can see all the books that she's written, including Mexican High, Seeing as Your Shoes Are Soon to Be on Fire. Is it? I love the name. And The Marriage Act. She's both a fictional writer and writes memoirs. And I think we should learn more about it. You also have essays out there people should know about. What do you want people to know about your next project? So we can save the date.
Yeah, my next project, I can poll people about what the title should be, because it's either going to be the Pretty Bored Moms Club, board spelled Board, or the Spectacular Surfing Moms of Santa Cruz, or my Secret Otter Life, OTTER, but also like other, My Secret Otter Life. It's about a group of moms Loosely based, right? Of course, the trigger of this is all in my own life because I find like kind of a seed of something that I know, and then I just run wild with it. So this was based on a group that I was a part of for a time, but it's moms in a California coastal town who are in the early stages of motherhood, which is like a crazy making time, and you need a lot of help. And these moms love to surf. They love surfing, and like surfing and early motherhood are extremely incompatible because you can't just like leave your baby on the beach and like paddle out into the ocean. No. So they have the idea. They make a group that's like they trade off surfing and childcare. But things get a little bit weird when they start turning into ocean animals. So like the main character turns into an otter, and a specific otter. We have an otter here called 841 that was notorious for stealing surfboards, and they try to capture her, and they can't. And then she had a baby, and then they were like, well, she had a baby, so she's a mom now, and she's chilled out a lot. But then she was stealing surfboards again. So the moms turn into ocean animals, and the kind of parable, metaphor, whatever you want to call it, of that is they're on this search for kind of this freedom that they want to feel. Like they feel like their freedom's been taken, and they want to find this ultimate freedom that they believe these ocean animals have, and that one can feel when you go out into the ocean and when you're out in something like big waves on a surfboard, and you just feel kind of at the mercy of nature and completely free, and anything can happen. And they come ultimately to realize that there's no animal that exists in a vacuum of ultimate freedom. They all are interconnected. They all have community. They all have relationships. And so it's about our kind of like a maternal connection with nature, but also how these animals and these moms are actually more similar than they think in the ways they can shift their mindset based on what they learn as becoming animals.
Fun.
So,
very fun.
This is in the nascent stages, so we'll see. But I'm also obsessed with surfing, so it gives me a reason to say I need to go out and do research.
Yeah. I mean, water is very, I think, it opens you up to creativity. That's why people get so many ideas in the shower. But I imagine out in the open water, it's even more so. And folks, if you go to lizamonroy.com, you can also find out about events. I know we have folks in Oregon. She'll be doing a reading, signing, and Q&A in Portland on March 20th, and a reading, signing, and discussion at Tsunami Books in Eugene, Oregon on March 22nd. But go to her website to keep up to date on all the great work she's doing. Liza, look forward to talking to you again. Congratulations on this.
I'm so excited for, to have been here and for the readings, and I hope that I'll get to come to Chicago at some point. That would be wonderful. I love it there.
We'd love to have you.
Please do.
Thank you. Take care. Bye, Liza.
Okay. Bye, Patty. Bye, Joe.
Happy Valentine's.
Talking with you.
Thank you. Bye.
Happy Valentine's Day. Bye.
More. We'll wrap up in a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal in studio with comedian Joe Kilgallon.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
To Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
In your communities, in Chicago.
On WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us as we wrap up Driving It Home in studio with comedian Joe Kilgallon, just giving him a little more of my very eclectic and very strange upbringing. So I don't think I can play this audio, but I don't know if I want to end on... no, I can't play that audio. It doesn't come up. Someone sent me a clip from the Midas Touch that a delegate to Ukraine tried to convince... President Zelensky that he should give like 50% of the mining rights from Ukraine. Like part of the deal, the sort of arrangement for ending the war in Russia is basically all lopsided for Russia and the United States against Ukraine. And I have a history degree. I know a certain amount of some things, but I don't have a handle on this hatred between Russia and the United States, and the Bolshevik revolution, and this desire to infiltrate our country and destroy our this. I don't have a handle on it, and I feel the same way about Gaza. I'm like I don't know the answers, but it doesn't seem like expelling or ethnic cleansing is the solution.
No, it's not. It's reminding me a lot of what the U.S. was kind of doing in the 80s, where we were kind of going into places and it was all obviously for our own economic gain.
Yes.
And we kind of just thought, well, we're the U.S. What's going to happen to us? And then we did find out that about 20 years later, a lot of things happened to us, which is what was the seeds that planted for the war on terror.
Right.
All of the...
Yes.
Yeah, because when you go to a place and you kill a bunch of people, there are going to people like you guys ever seen in action movies? Someone's going to avenge them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's going to upset an entire region and all these other things. So I wouldn't blame the Ukraine for being like, no, we're not going to do that deal. Why would we? Yeah. Like what? Exactly. It's really puzzling, and it's imperialism doesn't lead to anything good.
So have a great weekend, everybody.
Yeah.
Happy Valentine's Day. Joe will be back when his schedule allows. Again, don't wait for me to ask you, but I'll nudge you. You let me know, but he'll be at 6 Penny next Thursday.
I'll come in next week.
All right, come in next week. I'm here.
Love to.
I believe I'm here every single day. All right, excellent. And go to joekilgallon.com to find out about his schedule and his check out all of his clips and podcasts, The Joe Kilgallon Show, as well as Let's Get Dumb. Lady B, love you. Happy Valentine's Day, my friend. Brandy Rhodes is up next. I'm sure she's fired up. There's a lot happening. I'm gonna do whiskey and a cookie right now with my friends online. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care.